So this is how my nature scene turned out. I'm really happy with it. And if you want to see how I did this, I'm going to show you from start to finish my process for creating and layering some really nice lush vegetation. It's not as hard as it looks. So yeah, I can't wait to show you. So starting out, we've got this kind of terrain. Looks kind of disgusting right now, but basically this is the bare bones of how I set up a nature scene. If I just come out of the camera view, you can see we've got this kind of big plain here, and it's been kind of subdivided, sculpted a little bit, and I've got a few assets here, like a kind of a bit of a river 3D scan. Can't remember where I got that from. And then a pathway that I've kind of added in. The terrain has been vertex painted, so I've got this main grass kind of mossy ground, and then I've got a more gravel kind of material here with a 3D model that's been added into it. And then obviously, like, this looks a bit strange, but this is a boardwalk. If I jump into cycles real quick, you'll be able to see what it actually looks like. And I'm using a kind of a new PC that I've built recently. You can check out the video after this if you want on my channel of how I did that. But I've got this set up here for the timber planks, which basically randomly assorts the UVs as well as it kind of randomly brightens and darkens it as it goes, which is really cool. So I'll just quickly show that setup here. I use that a lot with my timber planks. Basically, we've got a geometry node, random per island, going into color ramp, adding into it with a texture coordinate, and then that vector just plugs into all of these colors, base maps, roughness, normal, and then this random per island also goes into a color ramp. I mean, this isn't really about how I set this up. This is how I actually create a landscape, but you can literally copy this if you want to. I don't really mind. So basically what you want to do when you start off is you want to create a plane, subdivide it a heap of times, do some vertex painting, create a pathway. I'm not going to explain how to do that. There's a lot of good tutorials. For the sake of time, I'm just going to show you how I actually set the planting up to achieve the result you saw at the start. So I'm going to be using the scatter tool. It's called GeoScatter, but you can use other tools. You can even manually place them. This is really just to show the techniques that I do to achieve the cool result you see at the start. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this plane. And by the way, you can get there's a link for the scatter plugin in the description. It's an affiliate link. And I'm also using these plants from Glow Plants. It's a New Zealand plant pack. I'll chuck a link in for that maybe in the description too, but you'll be able to find it. So to start out with, we have basically created this plane, and I'm going to eyedropper this plane, and we're going to go on this first option. Actually, no, we're not. We're going to create a biome scatter for grass. So the technique I kind of use is we start with the low-lying planting to begin with, and then we build layers in with medium planting and then bigger planting. So I'm just going to have a look through these settings. I quite like maybe just a wild grass. So if I go on wild grass O2, what does that one do? If I go wild grass O2, click on that, it should import it into here. So you can see it doing its magic now. And this can become really, really heavy. So something that you want to be aware of when you're doing scattering is that your PC might just explode. Well, it won't actually explode, but the Blender will crash. There'll be maybe issues depending on how good your system is. So you want to have methods to make sure that we're managing how much information is kind of carried across. So if I go down here to systems list, I'm going to go right down to my, let's see. I don't know if you can actually do that for biomes. So normally we can actually turn this grass to like a little shape to make it less heavy in the viewport, but I don't think you can actually do that for like the preset kind of biomes. What we're going to do though is, to start off with, we're going to do a color attribute. So down here on group culling masks, let's go on color attribute, click on that, click the drop down, and then we're going to create a new attribute. So I'm going to call this low grass. So this is like a low level planting and it's grass. So click OK. And let's go, actually, is it that? Grayscale. And let's go red channel. We're going to click on this paint. So now we're in vertex color mode. So if I just turn some of this off with the kind of this little display port, just to make it a little less heavy. So we just want to leave a little bit on so we actually know what we're working with here. So let's maybe put the first one on and the second one on. So basically what I want to do is I want to mask out this pathway with red. So I'm creating this red color, kind of vertex color here that I'm painting. And this is not going to allow any grass to be in this kind of area here. And we can kind of change this. If you hold control, you can do the opposite. So we're going to add a little bit of grass back in. And this is the same as what we've done with the material setup. So I'm not going to explain how to vertex paint materials. There's all sorts of good tutorials online for that. But you know how I created that gravel path and then we've got the kind of mossy material here. We're doing the same thing with this grass here. So we're just adding layers with different kind of assets. So if I turn this back on now, all of these kind of layers, you can see now, if I go into my camera view, you can see how we're kind of doing this subtraction here by the pathway. So what I want to do also is remove a lot of this in the background. So if I go right out, you can see how big this landscape is, and it's just kind of a waste of PC resources. So if I hold, if I just click and drag, I'm going to remove a lot of this information here that we don't need. And then come around. And there's actually other ways to do this, like camera culling, but there's kind of a problem when you're moving around the viewport and you still see a lot of this stuff. It's not ideal. And optimization is really important when we're doing this. As I said before, you want to make sure that you're using kind of the bare minimum you need to still get a good result. So this is looking quite good. If I now come across and come out of this vertex paint mode, you can kind of click up here in the top left and go object mode. Now we have got an option to reduce a little bit of the scattering, but honestly I actually think that's quite good as is. What I might do is remove that. I might just bring this up at the back. So I'm just thinking ahead here. If I enable my what's it called, the proportional editing, I'm going to shift this up to kind of this point here, and I just want to create a bit of interest here. And you really want to be referring back to the original camera view to make sure that the composition's working with the planting and everything like that. So I'm just going to bring this down so that it makes more sense. We don't really want grass to come kind of over that boardwalk. It's not very realistic. And I'm going to bring this down over here as well. We don't really want it to look too overgrown. That's like pretty important, is finding that good balance. And it's actually quite important also to use references. So have a look on Pinterest or Instagram and find some projects that you are quite inspired by. So I'm just going to check this little area out here first. Click on this, proportional edit, drag it down. Yeah. There's really good tools that you can use for scatter. Like you can actually make sure you can do culling masks for that automatically kind of color around objects. I'm a little bit lazy today. It's really hot and I just want to kind of show you quickly how I do this. So we've got the grass done. We're going to come across here. Let's just bring this across. By the way, if you want to do this, you just go vertical split by right clicking. It's really helpful to have that camera view there to always refer to. But let's just jump into cycles real quick and see how it's looking with that addition. So that's already starting to fill out quite nicely. Yeah, I quite like that so far. So let's move forwards now to the kind of medium planting. This is actually going to be the main focus. This grass will generally be covered up quite a lot by some bigger bushes, and the grass will really only be seen right by that pathway because we're going to kind of fade it in. So if I come across here, I've got this collection here of medium planting, which I really like. And actually what I might do, nah, I'm not going to bother with that, should I? Low grass. What I might do is do another scatter. I've got this really cool looking climber. Well, it's kind of like a low ground cover thing here. Let's just go across and I'm going to, because we've still got that plane selected, I'm going to come across here to this blue one I really like using. It's just like a small random kind of thing. If I go scatter, let's see what that looks like. And then I'm going to go into distribution and we're going to make this instant count like 5. Okay, that's all right. Go down to culling masks and we're going to select the same, is it a vertex group that I did? No. The same color attribute. Let's go to low grass and that will use the same mask that, does that work? Where does, red channel, hopefully. Yeah, cool. Okay, so now that's using the exact same mask that I used for the grass. Yeah, so if I go now into cycles mode, you can see we've added in a whole bunch of these kind of like low level climbing species, but it does look like a lot. So let's do 2. The key for landscape renders to make it look really good is variation. We don't want it to look like we made it. So by adding all these different species and blending in, we're really just creating something that looks natural. I think it's pretty obvious, but I just thought I'd say anyway. So let's just have a look now. We're just kind of blending in a little bit more with these, with these low level kind of climbing species here. And in the grand schemes of I can't even talk. In the grand scheme of things, it's going to really blend up quite nicely. So now let's go on to the bushes. So this is going to be our medium level height kind of stuff. So let's go across. We've selected all our bushes. These are majority from the New Zealand plant pack on Globe Plants. Alright, so we've got these here. I'm going to click scatter. I'm using the same kind of tool preset here. You can see that's become quite heavy. And if we zoom out a little bit, you can see, oh geez, that's really heavy. So what I want to do initially is actually come down here to color attribute, click on this. We're going to name this one, we're going to create a new attribute and we're going to call this medium. Just call it medium because this is our medium level kind of bushes. Go okay. We're going to go on red channel as well, I guess. We're going to click down here to reverse. So we've basically, like, I don't know if you've used Photoshop before, but we've just reversed this mask. So now we're going to be painting in the bushes instead of removing it. And I like to do this for everything other than grass, because grass you want everywhere, and except for like a pathway. But bushes, you want to be a little bit more specific about it. So if I go into this camera view here, okay, and then I go top view over here, let's just kind of use these two views here to start painting in some bushes. So you have to think like a landscape architect. We're going to add in some bushes kind of in this section here. Hopefully that gets seen. Yep. And we're also going to add some on this hill up here. So if we look a little closer, we're actually blending in from our pathway to our grass. And now we're adding some real quite heavy bushing. We're really like starting to layer in some pretty heavy planting. So let's add some also in here on this. Oh, I forgot to explain. The whole concept of this design is actually like built around a river. So this here is like a bridge that kind of goes along a river, but you're not really going to see too much in that view. So let's just go back in top view. I just thought I really should have explained that right at the start. First tutorial of 2025. It's not going to go super smoothly. I'm going to paint in some more over this side. We really want to create just some nice layering. Layering is the key ingredient for like nice landscaping. So we really want to layer everything in here. Even maybe a little bit over here. Yeah, but not too much. We really want to create some separation and variation. We don't want to like destroy kind of the low level planting too much, but that's starting to look quite good. I actually really enjoy this. Like, I love landscape architecture. It's always been one of my favorite parts about doing a render is like create the planting. But I never used to enjoy it that much because I was always very intimidated by how difficult it was to, I don't know, my PC would always crash, and I always struggled with being able to, my PC to even be able to handle it. So it definitely pays to have a good system to be able to, you know, make it work. And I think investing in a really good PC, whether you're building it yourself or you buy one, is really key to unlocking your creativity. I've said this a lot, but it's so important that the tools you use enhance your process and they don't get in the way. I literally had my previous PC for about 10 years. It was terrible. Like, the only thing I upgraded was the graphics card and the RAM, but the CPU I would always render with because I didn't have enough VRAM. But I'm kind of going away on a bit of a tangent here. So I think that's looking pretty good, but I do want to add a little bit more on that left hand side corner. So let's go back to vertex paint. And where are we looking at here? Maybe is it over here? Let's just see if that does it. Maybe I can even click there. Yeah, okay. Not sure even where that is. Cool. Okay, so now I want to just see if I can remove a little bit. Yeah, okay, I just want to remove a little bit there. I'm actually not sure about this low-level climbing kind of plant. Maybe I'll reduce the instance right down to like 0.2, just for a little bit of variance, but it kind of looks a bit yuck at the moment, if I'm going to be honest. So let's go back to object mode. I'm going to save this. You always need to save when you're dealing with landscapes, because it is so heavy on your computer. All right. So that's starting to look quite nice. It's already a really big improvement from the grass that we had before. So what I'm going to do now, you can kind of start to see this pathway is getting a little bit kind of obstructed a little bit, which is actually what I wanted. I actually don't, I think I want to add a little bit more on this nature pond kind of thing here. So let's just go back into vertex paint. I don't really want to be doing this in cycles mode. It's kind of a dangerous idea. Let's see if we can just add a little bit more onto here. Okay, so turns out I had deselected the landscape. So if you can't weight paint, or if you can't vertex paint for some reason, just make sure you've got the landscape selected. So I'm going to just come in here and kind of add a little bit more on this kind of edge here. So if I go into camera view, you can see I'm not a fan of how this is looking so far. So you can see nothing's really happening there. If I come out of this mode now and I actually lift that terrain up a little bit, you'll see these poke through. It's because that's another object there. Let's just have a little look. I'm actually going to turn my grass off just to make it easier because the grass is so heavy. So let's bring this up now. What I might need to do is just manually kind of place a few there just to kind of blend it in a little bit. But that's looking quite good, I think. Also, let's just see what's going on over here. It's looking a little bit bare. Let's just see, that might be a bit better. Cool, okay. So, we've kind of got this medium level, low level planting. What I'm going to do now is layer in some bigger, more species kind of plants, like small trees and boulders and stuff like that. And I'm also going to use a really cool tool, like a mossy kind of generator, which I'll leave a affiliate link in the description for that. But basically what you can do is use a geometry node. If I go across here to modifier, geometry node, and then if I change this to AK Moss Biome Geonodes, you can see it instantly adds this mossy kind of biome. If I can isolate this, you'll see what I mean. It actually looks incredible. And if I remove this real quick, it's just a rock, right? And then you can add all this incredible moss data in literally like one click, and it actually looks really good. Like, it's insane. So I'm going to use that a lot in my future projects, and this is kind of the first test case for that. So I just thought I'd show that, and that'll come soon. What I'm going to add is these kind of bigger plants here. So we've got this big kind of like bush looking thing, and we're not actually going to scatter these. We're going to hand place these, because these are really just going to break up that larger area of detail that is not really going to happen very often. So if I just bring this whole kind of collection across here. Ooh, she's getting a bit laggy. What I might do real quick is actually change these view modes. If I click on the kind of medium planting here. Is it medium? No, wait, is it? Yeah, no, it's low level. I can change this view visibility. I'm going to change this to, display. I'm going to change this to not placeholder, a convex hull. Okay, so, and let's do the same for the other one, and you'll see what I mean. So if I go to my bushes, my medium planting, go down to display, click on this little eye thing, and we're going to change this to convex hull. So you can see here we've kind of simplified up how this looks in the viewport mode, but when we actually turned it to shading, it's going to look normal. So this just helps to reduce the kind of impact that this has of just working around it. All right, and we can actually see it a lot easier now. You know, you can kind of understand the low, medium, high planting kind of stuff a little bit easier. So when I do this now, because we're doing kind of manual, I'm gonna go Alt D to duplicate, and it means that it's gonna kind of duplicate it, I think linked, and it's gonna be a little bit easier on the memory. So if I just bring this over here, let's zoom in a little bit. I'm gonna actually place this in here. This is quite a nice little bush. If I go object, it looks like the origin's not quite right. So this is gonna really help to blend in with the landscape and provide a little bit more of a scale difference. So let's add another one over this side, maybe. Let's rotate this a little bit. I'm actually going to turn off this bush layer just so I can see what I'm dealing with here. And I'm going to turn off the other one as well. So it's really just the grass that we're seeing. Yeah. I think I just want to cover that gap. That gap's looking a little strange. Cool. Okay. And I'm going to add a few mossy rocks in here as well. So let's just duplicate linked over here. Cool. And by the way, you can press full stop to zoom in on the selected object, which is like really important. I saw a comment on my channel a little while ago of someone that's been using Blender for years and he didn't realize that you could do that. And yeah, he was pretty amazed that he could do that. So if you don't know you can do that, it's really helpful. So I'm going to add a rock kind of up here. Yeah, maybe just a little in, and yeah, that's quite nice. Let's move this back here. Cool. Okay, and on this rock I'm going to add the geometry node. And going to go to moss biome geonodes. By the way, yeah, like as I said before, you can get this. There's an affiliate link in the description on Blender Marketplace. So it's just going to add some really nice kind of detail. Let's grab this one here, and we're going to duplicate linked, and we're going to chuck that on the other side. So I'm just going to sink this right into the ground. I love boulders, they're just amazing. And just, we're going to kind of like bridge this a little bit, bring it back, maybe across. I don't want that to line up too much with what we've got with the boardwalk. So just maybe bring it back a little bit. Okay. I think that might be good. Let's add a geometry node. Same one, AK mossy biome geonodes. Add that in. And then I'm going to add a few more bits and pieces. We've got these really nice, they're quite big, what are they, Cortonoria ricardi. I don't even know how to pronounce most plants, because they are a tongue twister. But these look quite nice when they're like not super dense. I kind of find they're a little bit overpowering if they are like all over the place. But as just a little kind of sprinkle I think these are beautiful, beautiful plants that just add so much to the scene. And their little kind of like beak little bits there are like really nice. I'm going to add in a few or along this kind of corner over here. Just at the back. Just kind of blending in a little bit with the bigger plant species. Let's add some in up here. Let's like sink that down. I think that's got the same ground forest. So that's looking quite good. And then I'm going to add a few more bits and pieces along here, like maybe a big rock right up by that kind of retaining wall scenario up there. Yeah, so let's chuck that there. Sink that into the ground. It's quite nice. And then let's add that geometry node that we've been using. aka moss biome. And then I'm going to just delete that one there and move this one back. Just so that we can see that a little bit easier. Cool. Okay. What I will also do here is at the back, there needs to be a little bit more planting. So I'm going to grab some of these here. And I'm literally just going to manually place these at the back behind the, like by the timber wall. And I'm going to grow these a little bit. And you could technically use Scatter, the plugin, to do this. But honestly, like for stuff like this, I like to just manually do it. So I'm just going to like kind of, you can see this on the left hand side. I'm just going to bring these together. And for the walls, I like to do them manually because they just have a little bit more of a natural vibe when it's a small enough amount. You can kind of just like rotate, move, and they're not going, most importantly, they're not going through the wall. So I'm just duplicating these. I say that and then they're literally going through the wall. I've just found that with the Scatter plugin, it doesn't really work too well right up against walls. So I like to just manually do that. And you can see it's looking quite ordinary. I'm going to just make a few ones bigger here. Drop a few down just to kind of break this line up a little bit. So let's just bring this over here. And that's looking quite good. Cool. Okay, and let's just bring a few more. I'm going Alt-L, by the way, when I duplicate these, so it uses less memory. Because, like the memory you use can very easily become over capacity to what you have. Like if you've got 32 gigs, it's like pretty good. But if you're rocking like 8 or 16, you're going to really struggle with doing some nice high quality landscapes. So just bear that in mind. I'm going to just like do this here. And kind of last but not least, we're going to add some trees. But just before we do that, we're going to have a quick look at this and see how it's looking. So it's really starting to look quite nice. I think it's going to look great as well when we add some shade with trees and a little bit more variation. These kind of bigger ones are looking a little bit bright. So another kind of important thing that you might want to think about is the albedo of your plants shouldn't really look like this too much. Like they should all be a similar kind of green hue. So if I look in here, I've got the leaves here. These are looking a little bit, just a little bit too yellowy. So I'm just going to quickly add in a value to maybe 0.6 and see how that looks. So we're just darkening this a little bit. Let's just copy and paste this in. So, I mean, this kind of thing will come out in Photoshop as well. I'm also just not sure about this one here. It looks a little strange. Let's just get rid of that and see how it looks. I do actually kind of prefer it on that side. Cool. So what I'm going to do now is add some trees, and then we'll start to think about how the light direction will impact, like the sun direction will actually impact how this scene looks quite a lot. So we'll check that out too. So I'm linking in some trees here. These are from the 3D Shaker plant pack, and the Blender trees, I think 1.5. These are amazing. I've used 3D Shaker for ages. There is a affiliate link in the description for these. I highly recommend them. The quality is insane, and I use them like for my professional work only, pretty much. Like these are the only trees that I use. So you can see here that just by adding like one tree in here, it's starting to really create quite a compelling composition. And the cool part about this is that you can literally like drag and drop trees from the pack right into your scene. And it's just a great way to kind of unlock your creativity. If I chuck one down here, and we're going to move it around. This is quite a nice like medium level tree. It's not too tall, but it is still quite dense. So let's just chuck this over here. I really want to create some privacy from the house that will be in the scene. I might do a bit of a tutorial on that eventually. Let's chuck one in here too. Like just create a little bit more variation here. And we're going to bring this one across to the right hand side as well. And that's starting to look quite good. Cool. So I'm going to just grab a few more and just chuck them around. See how that kind of looks. And always remember to save. Like whenever you do something, just make sure to save. Blender does have a really good autosave feature, but you just don't really want to be in that situation if you can help it. And yeah, it can be very unpredictable when it comes to like crashing, especially when you're dealing with trees. Like, oh my gosh, the amount of times that I've like crashed Blender because of trees is insane. So in here, I'm just literally going to drop this tree down to create a little bit more density. I might even reduce the size a little bit. And let's duplicate this one and bring it across. Something that I really like to do with my landscaping is like frame the composition with trees, especially around these edges. It just really helps to guide the eye into the focal point. Let's create like a few small trees, I think. So if I like drag and drop this cherry tree in, let's see how this looks. It's getting a little heavy. All right, I'm going to bring this across. It is also getting very hot in this room. Yeah, it's not great. Summer in New Zealand is not fun. All right, so I'm going to add this really small specimen tree here. And this is going to blend in with that small, medium, large kind of vibe. It's just going to go in that corner. And let's just sink that down, make sure that's actually buried in the bush. I want a few more smaller trees. I do really like those cherry trees. Let's just have a look. You can't have too much variance. So let's add this one here. See how this one looks. Yeah, that's nice. Let's bring that down. Let's bring that across a little bit. Really allowing for a really nice just blending of that between that pathway. Yeah, that's starting to look really nice. I'm going to add this big ash tree in as well. And so currently my memory is sitting at 14 gigs. And I am I am rendering with my CPU. If I was doing this with my GPU, it would probably crash. I have a decent GPU. It's a 3070? But it is only 8 gigabytes of VRAM. So if you're doing this kind of thing with your GPU, you might be limited by that. Cool. So at this stage, I actually want to think about sun direction, because while it's looking quite good in a few areas, I'm actually not entirely happy with this yet. Main reason being, over here, this sun is like not looking good. And I know from experience that just by changing the sun angle, it can completely transform how this landscape works. So in my world settings, I've got this cool HDRI. You can check this out on Polyhaven for free. That's the name there. You can literally Google it. I'm going to press Control T to bring out Node Wrangler. If you've watched my tutorials before, you'll know how to do that. And I'm just going to rotate the sun angle and just start to test out what looks good. And this foreground is really important. So I'm just thinking about how the sun looks there. I really want to guide the eye in and provide a nice soft kind of entrance into the picture. This is starting to look really interesting. And, maybe a sunset isn't actually what we want. Like maybe a harsh kind of sunset isn't perfect for this environment. We've got this big brick structure that's part of the HDRI. So you can see that's starting to look quite interesting, but I'm not sure if that's suiting it yet. So let's keep moving this z-axis along, changing the sun angle. Ooh, okay. I am really liking that background there. The only problem is the sun is it's just being covered by that fence there. Man, I love that landscape. Okay, how can we see? This is where it really helps to not be afraid of testing, like just testing out what works best. If we get rid of this fence, okay. All right, this is starting to look really, really interesting. If I get rid of some of these trees, I feel like that might be the sweet spot and bring a little bit of that sun in. Because that landscape is looking really, really nice. Okay. I'm going to get rid of this here because that's catching the light too much. Okay, the values are starting to look really, really good here. If I get rid of this one too, because they're just not working. I could edit that in Photoshop, but I can't really be bothered. That's looking quite nice. I'm going to get rid of that. I also might just, honestly, I know that was the idea, but I might get rid of this because it's not looking great at the moment. Oh, okay, I don't mind this over to the side. And I'm going to get rid of this too. Okay. So now that we've got this, that's looking quite interesting. I'm going to just play around with the exposure. Let's do 1.5. Just boost that up a little bit. Maybe 2. Okay, that's starting to look quite good. I'm just going to test moving this tree over. Now, all of this, I wouldn't normally do this because it's like, it's quite risky to do this live, because what if it doesn't turn out right? You know, like if I'm going to spend this time creating a tutorial for you guys, I want it to actually look good, and that actually takes time to do. So it is kind of risky, but I think it's really valuable at the same time to show you my thinking process. Let's just bring this in. Let's bring this away. I'm really just wanting to bring a little bit of that soft light in and across. Yeah. And I think actually this couch outdoor seating area that I modeled, what if that was actually rotated 90 degrees towards the landscape? Because that actually makes more sense given this kind of context here. So let's just see what that looks like. That could be quite cool. It's not bad. It's not bad. Okay, I think what I need to do now to blend it in with the background, because at the moment these bushes that the kind of fence, I'm lost for words, that the fence was there is actually not there anymore. So this needs to all drop down and maybe grow a little bit more. Yeah, that's quite nice. Oh, and I really, really like these mossy boulders now. They're starting to look awesome. So, okay, there's a few areas here that need to be blended. Let's just snap one of these up here. Guys, I'm getting really excited now. This is cool. This is actually one of my favorite parts about when I render. And you're just exploring, what's possible. And the magic starts to happen. So this little area down here I don't like. I'm going to save because I really like where this is heading. And let's just kind of bring a few of these in here. I'm going to just reduce this right down. And we're just going to create a few little kind of breaks in this pathway just to blend in a little bit more. And this is actually quite a long tutorial, but I actually don't want to stop because of where this is heading. And I know that this is going to be valuable to some of you guys. So why not just keep going? And if you guys stop watching, kind of is what it is. But I may as well just keep going. So let's just see where this goes. And by the way, if you enjoy these kind of more long length tutorials where I just kind of do a project and I see where it goes, let me know, because I actually really enjoy doing these. And yeah, let me know because I'll do more of them. So I'm kind of blending in a little bit more with this kind of low level shrub. And I think I might add one more in here. I think my PC is getting so hot, it's literally a little radiator in the room, which is obviously really nice given how hot it is outside. So it's really cool that my PC is getting really, really hot. I think it's great. Cool. Okay. Oh, that's nice. I can just imagine sitting there and experiencing that view, because that's really what this story is. You want to think about when you're doing a render, what is the story? What is the point of that render? And I know for this, it's that view. It's really celebrating that view. And that view only just arrived. That was just kind of a coincidence that, Bob Ross is always talking about happy mistakes. That was a very happy mistake, and it completely unlocked this render. So thank you, Bob Ross, for this happy mistake. Rest in peace. I think he's dead. I'm not sure. Rest in peace. I'm going to bring one more bush up here. just to kind of create a little bit more of a blending, but not as big. So really this process of layering is just ongoing, and you know, you could do this forever. You really could. I'm going to bring this across maybe a little bit over to that tree. I just want a little bit more of a blending in with the surrounding, if it will snap properly. Oh, that's nice. Maybe a little bit further away by that tree. Yeah, that's awesome. And I like how it's not super like photogenic, like sunset. Like we're just getting a little hint of that, you know, like it's really nice. I might just see what it looks like to get rid of this tree real quick, and if it looks terrible, I'll bring it back. I actually think that's better. I think that's way better without that tree there, because it was a little bit too dark, and now we've got this really nice flowing composition here. Oh yes, this is awesome. Okay, I think we're gonna leave it here, guys. I might do a little bit of work on it for the thumbnail, but really this is where we're ending, and I'm honestly stoked with where this is at. So I hope you found this useful. Please let me know if you want me to do these kind of tutorials more, because I will. I love doing them, and yeah, I love sharing my process. So stay tuned for the next one. Check out my Discord, by the way, if you want to share your work with me and you want to grow as a 3D artist. There's a really cool community, and it's completely free. And check out the products I've used in the link in the description. I think you'll find them really useful. I use them for all my projects, and they're really cool. So I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.